Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and yes, I'm getting my money's worth out of the Premium Harrier. I've just been absolutely enjoying this aircraft, and yet I've gotten tired of playing the meta, and I'm trying to squeeze in just a little bit of ground strike while no one's looking, just to see if they'll notice, and I ended up having the best and most exciting match I've ever had in my Harrier, and you may be familiar. Oh, wait, is this the wrong replay? did I load up the wrong video? Is this the one where I get ganked in the first 2 minutes of the game by some cheeky Harrier boy that somehow remembered that he has cannons on his jet? No, I say thee nay. We're stable. We're not getting kicked out by the instructor. Can you imagine? He's just like, well, it's been 12 seconds since we got crippled, so, bail out. Or, I don't know, I'll take away your Pepsi. And you're like, no, my Pepsi! And so you jump out of the aircraft, as you do, but only in mixed battles. And yet, we're incredibly stable at this point. I mean, I might as well go back and join the fight. I do have one more missile. But, nope, the instructor's giving me that look again. And you know what, all the fizz has sort of left my Pepsi and joined the canopy at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and run back to the airstrip real fast to restock and resupply. Maybe grab a Mountain Dew while I'm there to get some true advantage over these British traitors. They're jealous, I tell you. Jealous of the sexy missiles we have on our Harriers. That's why they're trying to shoot us down. But, yeah, we're actually flying on a wing and a prayer, and we're going to pull off the kind of landing that only a Harrier can do, and that the mighty Jingles would be proud of. So, how was your day? We are going to get into a couple of replays after this. But I had this match and I just had to share it with you guys. As I said, I've been screwing around a little bit with the Harrier, and I really love how versatile this plane is. It definitely excels in acceleration and little else, but it's got a piece of everything. And it has the VTOL that we used there. We put our nozzles out real quick for Harambe, and if I'd bothered to bind my drag chute to a reasonable key binding, well, we wouldn't be dealing with this kind of maneuver. But, well, I mean, where's the fun in that? Oh, I found my Pepsi. Anyway, gear up, and enemies at the airfield 5 clicks away is nigh unto knife fighting range for this thing, and we're hoping to lock him with our big, sexy, versatile missiles, the AIM-9G, I think, the AIM-9 Gustaria, that the Harrier for the Americans it has access to. There we go. I figured it out. English, not the easiest language, and a nice, beautiful kill. These things really seem to be able to pull hard inside of like 2 kilometers range. After about 2.5 kilometers of flight time, they run out of juice, and I think they actually have a little bit of, like, I don't know, but it seems like they have a touch of thrust vectoring or something. Maybe they just kind of squeeze the nozzle a little bit this way or that way. As you can tell, I mean, I don't want to use too technical of a term to describe what's happening, because I'd like to keep this channel like a family channel. It's like a family channel where I say fuck every now and then. And here we have, it looks like 3 enemies left. And by far, the least priority target is probably the Hunter, but he's pretty dangerous too. The issue is the Hunter does what I do, only better. At least once my missile comes off, and I only have 1 left now. I'm thinking, you know what? Let's get rid of those rockets. It's time to do some work. You know what? We managed to pick up the light pillbox on the way. I'm telling you, these are the strats. These are the pro skills. I'll give you a Raptor Pro tip for free. Just the tip, just for a bit. to see if it works. And you can see that War Thunder doesn't quite know what to do with my nose when I start using the VTOL features when I'm in a turn. So that's an aspect of the Harrier right now, and the Hunter was not able to dodge that missile. I think he thought that it wasn't going to catch him quite so fast, but those AIM-9Gs are fast missiles. They really perform well, especially against something that is very powerful but sort of bricky like the Hunter. The Harrier itself is a heavy aircraft. You can see it. He a thick boy, and when he starts cutting against the wind, he loses speed rapidly. This is not an aircraft that you want to engage in sustained turn fighting against lighter aircraft like Sabres with. And the MD-452 is another aircraft that can potentially beat this thing in a dogfight. But both of these enemies are likely running low on fuel, so I'm assuming that this is sort of a desperation move that they're doing. In other words, I'm assuming that this is sort of half bluff. They might have 40 seconds of fuel left, so I don't expect both of them to engage me in a sustained dogfight. Even so, I'm not going to try and pull against an F-86, so I'm going to try to pull these guys into an energy trap. The Harrier performs extremely well in the vertical and maintains energy quite nicely. The acceleration rate and just the beefiness of the engines on this thing, and the fact that you're not beating too much air by continuing to induce drag with your big hefty control surfaces, means that you can perform a lot better if you take the thing into the vertical. And some nice shots on the MD-452. I just kind of aim above them a little bit and let them fly into them, and then try and pull out before it's too late. That can be easier said than done sometimes, but now there's only one enemy left, and he was on bingo fuel, so he's gonna land, and I told you I'm gonna try and sneak some ground strike in here. So targeting computer on, because that's a thing that I have, and we'll hit him with a few bursts of Aiden, and goodbye last aircraft on the enemy team. That was a fun match. They come and go fast in the Harrier, and I like how that one turned out. It was a lot of fun. And we got to sort of show off things that only the Harrier can do. Now, TinyPolska, a fan favorite on the channel, good kid, and into the Lego stuff, and into the M24, possibly the best light tank in the game. This, I believe, is this the Chinese version? No, it's the American one. It just has that cool tiger decal on it, I think. Or no, this is an entire camouflage. Yeah, that's right. Custom camo. Anyway, looks good. And some nice cheeky light tank action already. Definitely making use of the recently improved low-speed stabilizer on the American vehicles at around this tier. And we've talked about the Chaffee to no end on this channel. It's everything that you need in a light tank. If you ask for more, you really are asking for too much, and it's time to reassess your strategies. And this is a tier where the M24 can do very, very well, especially if you don't end up against beefy Soviet armor all the time. Now, German tanks, especially again at this tier, can end up being rather thick boys themselves, but they tend to have most of their protection in the front, or in the case of the Tigers, you've got this really complicated armor setup that's difficult to make the most use out of, and even though the front plate is mostly impervious to the American 75mm APAG that the M24 relies on, the lower side armor is susceptible. And there's another spot you can take down a Tiger even from the front, especially if it's the early model Tiger that you find at 5.3 battle rating. And yes, this is clearly an up tier for the Chaffee, one that it handles quite well. And I'm telling you, you're going to see TinyPolska over here pull off some cheeky, breaky maneuvers that he must have learned from some drunken Russian. Tries to go through the flat presented front plate of the Tiger and just doesn't quite manage, and then he shoots him in his stupid hat. Take that, you Nazi douchebag. It's time to go back to the hangar. Of course, I'm talking about the vehicle itself, not the driver. We're all free to enjoy whatever vehicles we want to play here in War Thunder, where it's not about the politics, it's about the explosions. And a nice finishing off of the crew of that German heavy tank, definitely giving an advantage to his team and paving the way. You stay back there where it's safe, IS-2. Little brother's gonna clear out the enemy. A Panther, that's a little bit more tricky of a target. Very nicely placed shot into the, what was that, machine gun on the mantlet, but that's not gonna be enough to punch through a Panther with this cannon. Panther whiffs his shot as the suspension eats his accuracy. Beautiful shot into the cupola that probably should have gone through, but, well, snail things happen. Now TinyPolska has some deciding to do, and the Panther is getting horny. He parries around and decides to target the more dangerous tank, probably IS-2 back there, as TinyPolska has time to line up his shot into the cannon of the Panther. Panther goes for the crush attack, but it's not going to be effective. He inadvertently gives TinyPolska a perfect angle to punch through his front plate with the 75. Will Tiny take it? And he does, and collaterals himself as the ammunition of his foe explodes in his face. That was awesome. Well done, cheeky gameplay with 2 tank kills and 4 assists, setting himself up nicely for the Roy D Mustang. This is one of my oldest custom camos, and I still enjoy it greatly, along with enjoying the Mustang itself. This is a beautiful aircraft, and I know the beauty of the default Mustang is just absolutely something to behold, but I mean, the pun, man, the pun. I couldn't hold back. Anyway, TinyPolska26 now searching for ground targets in an airspace that is, as he gets opened up on, dominated by German SPAA. The Wirbelwind, the Ostwind are like lice at this tier. You have to thoroughly clean the battlefield, every crack and crevice of them, and just talking about them makes my skin crawl. As an avid CAS pilot, they could be called the bane of my existence, but instead, let's say that they're a worthy foe. Beautiful explosion as the Mustang pulls around for a second pass over the battlefield. Is that a lightly armored open top tank destroyer? I don't know, but let's light up those TDs and find out. Ostwind goes down to sustained 50 cal firepower, having more resistance to aircraft attacks than the Wirbelwind, with significantly thicker shields covering most of the open top. Nonetheless, gets taken down as TinyPolska comes in for the TD and wipes it out as well. Really showing off what the Mustang can do, even though it only carries a couple of hefty bombs. It still has so much deadly punch in the form of those 50 cals at a tier where you can still find things like the Panzer IV and the very popular German open-top tank destroyers and other light targets like the BMP to take down at your leisure. And, of course, enemy aircraft? Well, that's no problem for the Mustang either, if you can get your shots on target. A lot of those 50 cals missed, and that's gonna hurt for our guy. Getting into using stealth rounds definitely helps with the aim a little bit, in my humble opinion. but TinyPolska's been around, he plays the aircraft, and he knows that using tracers for the memes is far more important than having the tactical advantage over unsuspecting foes. Now he's got a difficult decision to make. He's taken some damage, the Mustang does not last long when it's leaking coolant, and he's got an enemy aircraft on his tail. Yet he is chasing down the BF-110. You can see him aggressively dolphining here. We're going to call that the, the Catholic defense? It's the only approved defensive maneuver if you are a Catholic lass. And yet, he does manage to take down the 110 at the same time that his floppy form gets a shot out of the sky by, I think it was a 109. No, it wouldn't have been a 109 behind him. Not quite sure what that was, but he did. The same could be said for that enemy tank, as TinyPolska comes back in the M19 and brings some good old-fashioned American justice to the battlefield in the form of this SPAA that probably would have worked better in real life for taking down aircraft. I'm thinking it was intended for something like, I don't know, shooting down something heavier than a fighter, which probably makes sense. I mean, what's a tiny little fighter gonna do to your ground formation of tanks and infantry anyway? That's what the US Air Force is for, after all, or the Army Air Corps, whatever it happened to be during World War II. And yet, he gets wiped out, the crew destroyed in an inferno of whirlwind-induced action. Oh no, actually they're fine. No, they're gone again. Ladies and gentlemen, the War Thunder replay system. And may I now introduce Pedro's very own Zokher? I don't know. But at least he's on the right side of politics. In the field with his, what is this, M1A1 with the kit on the back in the Abrams, the lovely rangefinder on this thing, so helpful at lining up those shots against cheeky German and Soviet boys. And anyone who peeks out is likely to find a 120 mil projectile coming their way. Lawn darts for days, and then, of course, popping smoke and reversing out of a bad time will save you from the consequences. At least, I mean, that's what they told me. But it doesn't work so well in the club, just so you know. Even so, repairing his breach and rethinking his life, I cut out a lot of this video because, well, this one's gone on for a while already, even though it seems like just yesterday I started talking to you guys about the best Harrier match I ever had. And even so, there's going to be some fun top tier action in this. And one of the things that I've noticed about top tier is there's a lot of butt clenching, and it sort of comes down to, if somebody knows where you are, if they can see you, they can kill you. And things move so quickly. You can see, look at the map. Zokher has absolutely no one on his side of the field. His team is respawning in SPAA. It looks like maybe one or two tanks are just sitting in the spawn, and yet Zokher is fighting a one-man war to salvage this match from the jaws of defeat, taking down one foe and then another, moving into the cap. But you can see, this is not the low and mid tiers where you're really allowed to play aggressively. Even when he's jumping into the fire to rescue his team, he has to circle around the cap and clear it of all enemies, because they can reposition so quickly, and again, a blink and your life is gone. I'm going to be honest with you, it's a little bit too clutch for me. I prefer to fly in the sky, which is weird because, again, the sort of the same deal applies in aircraft, but maybe it's just nice not having so many bushes and trees around me, cover for people to hide behind. Instead, I play Spot the Dot, and I feel like I've gotten pretty good at that game, but it looks like, could that be another foe contesting the point against our guy Zokher? I sure hope things go well for our guy. If you're looking for a vehicle to make that happen, look no further than the M1A1. Look at that point and click adventure. It's definitely nice to see American tanks doing well in top tier. The M Poop-de-doo 1A1 round or whatever that it gets is definitely very helpful. The survivability of the Abrams tanks is better than average, but again, at this tier, if you get hit, you get crippled. If you get crippled, you'll shortly die, and it's really, really nice to be able to say the same of your own rounds. So the meta of top tier shifting once again back to if I see you, I click you, if I click you, you die, is at least a little bit more fair to all involved. So hopefully everybody gets the rounds that matter and the meta starts to favor them again. Even so, it seems like it's been a real task too. Does he have it? Does he have the round? No, he didn't have the heat, what's it called? Self-destroying radar fuse round. But even so, some good shots on wrpl, and the bombs fall with enough of a delay that the enemy jet and our guy Zokher could get out of the area of the kill zone. Recently, Gaijin fixed high explosive again, so maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not sure if this was before or after that, but it looks like he did load the magic round in time to take down that heli, at least to start the process of taking down that heli. The fact that helicopters are so deadly and they take so long to die definitely detracts from the joy of shooting them down, as there's a little bit more time of clenching your buttocks to make sure, we act like we can influence these things, but it's sort of like leaning into the corners in Gran Turismo. I mean, it feels right, it feels good, it does nothing. So you know what, Gluteus Maximus, why don't you just relax a bit, and we'll let Zokher handle everything, and it looks like he's doing a fair job of it. Up to 7 kills already, and this is, that's double or triple in top tier because of how challenging it is. I would easily think of this as a 20 kill game in a lower battle rating. This is an extreme challenge. Enemies don't respawn as much. Excuse me. And the enemy team has been extremely persistent in going after the victory. Man, I've really been on point today. Congratulations to me. I didn't get derailed or sidetracked talking about my kids as much as I'd love to. They've been freaking adorable today. Guppy has discovered the Spooky Scary Skeletons song, and she demands it on loop. And even when she's in the other side of the house, if I turn it off, this little angry toddler comes in. Is she even a toddler anymore? She's almost 4. She comes in and she demands, "Where's the skeleton song?" And I know I'm guilty, right? I know what I've done. I just thought I could get away with it, that's all. So I turned it back on. But huzzah, I did manage to shut off the music for just long enough to be able to share this with you all. Our guy Zokher pulling off a clutch. Well, he's not completely finished with it yet, but things are winding down. You can see where this is going, right? Zokher has fought well. He kept a cool head and he put some heavy pressure on the enemy, lighting them up one by one, killing everyone that he saw, leaving no witnesses, and taking the field of battle for the win. And that's going to just about do it for... Oh, is there another? Yes, there is, as he gets taken down. That's that Frenchy boy, isn't it? He was not using his... Oh, it's the one that launches the missile, too. He didn't stand a chance. At least not against this guy. Zokher is firing on all cylinders. This is just a fantastic match. Again, you don't see this amount of carnage in top tier all that often. It really is a different game. a game of patience and skill. And just look at how fast he manages to take down foes. Truly impressive. 9 kills, a nice little barbecue, a little bonfire to light up the last 30 seconds of his match, and a GG to Zokher's team on the shoulders of the man himself. I'm sure Pedro would be proud. Anyway, that just about does it for today's video, and as usual, there's a link to my Discord in the description, and you're encouraged to join me there. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.